Breaking news, Chicago rapper Lil Durk has been arrested in Florida. Jail records show he was booked into the Broward County Jail pending charges of for hire.
Without bond. This comes only hours after 5 people associated with his music business were also accused in taking part in that hire plot.
All this money on my head, I ain't dead yet. Straight up.
Durk's recent legal trouble announcement might just be a bit of a break for Quando Rondo. Rumor has it he's been dealing with threats from OTF for a while, and one major incident even led to his cousin Lil Pub's death. Now word is Quando might have reacted to the news of Durk's sentencing, even with promises to allegedly spill some insane secrets, and everyone just cannot wait to see how this turns out.
All this money on my head, I ain't dead yet. Straight up.
So, just last Thursday, federal authorities in Chicago really shook things up by making some big arrests over in Houston that are tied to the whole situation surrounding Quando Rondo's cousins Emder. They've got 5 guys in their sights as prime suspects: Kayvon London Grant, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Bryan Lindsay, and a guy named Asa.
Without bond. This comes only hours after 5 people associated with his music business were also accused in taking part in that for hire plot.
These dudes are now looking at some heavy-duty charges. Think conspiracy to commit Emder for hire that actually led to a death. It's a wild turn of events, and you can bet this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the fallout from all this. The investigation's got everyone on edge, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the coming days. It's like the drama is just about to unleash.
Bank, and he is from Chicago. This is his mugshot from Florida, where he was arrested last night and is being held without bond. This comes only hours after 5 people associated with his music business were also accused in taking part in that.
Prosecutors are convinced that the 5 suspects have ties to Lil Durk's OTF crew, and they've got some pretty damning evidence to back it up. Apparently, they booked flights and rental cars using a credit card linked to OTF, which is a major red flag. Plus, they're saying that Durk was even dangling some big music opportunities in front of people to get them to go after Quando Rondo. To give you a little context, this whole mess dates back to August 19th, 2022, when Quando Rondo and his crew got ambushed at a gas station in Beverly Grove, Los Angeles. Luckily, Quando managed to escape without a scratch, but unfortunately his cousin Savia Yaya Robinson didn't make it out alive.
Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight. It all started at this mobile gas station at 5:30 Friday evening. LAPD says witnesses heard multiple gunshots, then watched a couple cars zoom off.
Law enforcement believes the hit was a direct response to King Von's death, a close friend of Durk's, who was shot by someone from Quando Rondo's crew after a fight broke out outside an Atlanta club back in 2020. Someone was charged for Von's death, known as Timothy Lul Tim Leaks. The charges were eventually dropped, which many say may have motivated Durk to take matters into his own hands. Durk's definitely no stranger to legal issues. He's had his fair share over the years. King Von's death really seemed to be a turning point for him, kicking off a darker chapter in his life. Back in 2019, both he and Von were even hit with attempted Emder charges in Atlanta for allegedly shooting at a guy and robbing him. Those charges got dropped in 2022, which saved Durk from jail at that time, but it didn't take long for him to find himself in trouble again. Now there's a new twist in this saga, thanks to an anonymous snitch from Durk's own circle who's been spilling some serious tea. This source, staying under the radar and talking through a middleman for safety, claims that Durk's tough guy image is just a cover. Behind the scenes, he's actually pretty scared about getting pulled deeper into trouble with the feds. These leaked details are revealing a side of Durk that we don't often see, a side that might have way more to lose than he's letting on.
Charges one time, and he told me he was scared to get locked up in prison. The man's got 6 kids. Why wouldn't he be scared?
To really get the full picture of what's shaped Lil Durk's life, we have to take it way back to 2011. That's when his first major legal trouble kicked off. His encounters with the law between 2011 and 2016 weren't just a phase. They became a huge part of his story, affecting both his personal life and career in ways a lot of fans might not even realize. Starting out at just 17, Durk had a tough time. He was hustling just to make ends meet, doing whatever he could to put food on the table for himself, but no matter how hard he worked, he kept hitting walls. It's just wild to think about how those early struggles laid the groundwork for everything that followed.
Boys when my boy Durk first caught a charge. Life was tough on the streets of Inglewood, you know. Myself, Durk, and some of the family used to live at his grandma's house, but we didn't have nothing, so we looked to the streets.
Eventually, the frustration really started to weigh on him, and he made some pretty big life changes. With his back against the wall and not many options, Lil Durk got mixed up in crime just to get by, which led him to join one of Chicago's notorious gangs, the Black Disciples. Right around that time, he also welcomed his first child, which only added more pressure to an already tough situation. Surviving day to day felt like an uphill battle that seemed almost impossible. Joining the Black Disciples set off a chain of events that led to Durk's first major run-in with the law in October 2011. One night, while driving with a bottle of liquor in one hand and the wheel in the other, he got pulled over by the cops. A quick search turned up a loaded gun in his car, and he was taken in. Even though he got out on bond, trouble wasn't done with him yet. He found himself back in hot water in 2012, which landed him a 3-month sentence. Those 3 months in jail gave him a lot of time to think about his choices. Later on, Durk shared how that experience made him seriously rethink the direction his life was heading. It was a real wake-up call for him.
I was like, man, I'm gonna stay out the streets. And I was like, I just got signed. But being in Chicago, man, I don't know. Wrong place, wrong time, like I said.
Keen on making a fresh start, Durk turned to rap, using social media like MySpace and YouTube to get his name out there and start building a fan base. It didn't take long for his hard work to pay off. His early tracks Sneak Dissing and I'm a Hitta started to catch fire, grabbing the attention of big names like Chief Keef and French Montana. Before he knew it, his career was taking off, and his music was reaching audiences beyond Chicago. By 2013, he'd already dropped 4 mixtapes, and all the buzz around him led to a deal between his crew, Only the Family, and Def Jam Recordings. His 2013 mixtape even got major props from Rolling Stone, which named it one of the best of the year. But just when it looked like he was on the upswing, trouble came knocking again. This time, he was caught with a loaded .40 caliber gun while on South Green Street in Chicago as a felon. He posted a $100,000 bond, and his lawyer brought in 9 affidavits from witnesses saying he was innocent. Luckily, one witness even stepped up to take ownership of the gun, helping him dodge more serious consequences. All these ups and downs shaped Durk into the artist he is today. Through the highs and lows, he kept pushing ahead, pouring his experiences and struggles into his music, giving fans a real look at the hardships that made him who he is. After spending over a month locked up, Durk was back out and ready to dive right back into his music. But as his fame grew, so did the attention from the streets, especially from rival gang members who weren't too happy about his rising profile. Between 2014 and 2015, he was constantly on guard, facing threats, dealing with violent run-ins, and suffering some heartbreaking losses. One of the hardest blows came on May 31st, 2014, when his cousin, OTF Nunu, was tragically shot. Nunu had just signed a record deal 2 days before he was offed. He tried to escape the ambush by speeding off but sadly crashed into a storefront, losing his life at just 21. It was a devastating moment for Durk and his family, adding even more weight to everything he was dealing with.
Beat the charge, and he hit the studio. Bro wasn't slowing down at all. He got so good in the rap game that our ops started coming for the family. They was hating on my bread. The devil hit the family hard, but the show hit Durk the hardest.
Losing Nunu hit Durk hard, but he didn't let it hold him back. Instead, he poured even more energy into his music, determined to keep pushing forward. That same year, he got a big boost when XXL named him one of their freshman class of 2014, a nod that felt like a sign of better things to come. But the struggles didn't end there. In 2015, he faced another crushing loss when his close friend and manager, OTF Chino, was offed. Chino wasn't just a manager to Durk, he was like family. Durk still remembers that gut-wrenching day when he was in the studio and got the call that Chino had been offed, just 10 minutes after they'd last chatted. It was a tough blow, and losing someone so close made everything even harder for him.
How long ago did you talk to him, like how before it actually happened?
Like 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Despite all the heartbreak, gang rivalries, and legal issues that seemed to stick to him like a shadow, Durk never let anything stop him from chasing his music dreams. He threw himself into his work, touring and performing all over the country, gaining fans from coast to coast. But as his fame grew, so did the street conflicts, and it felt like they were following him wherever he went. Just before he was about to hit the stage at the Theater of Living Arts in Philadelphia on September 5, 2015, chaos broke out. Shots were fired, and a gunman shot into the crowd, hitting Durk's tour bus and fatally wounding a man. The police quickly detained some suspects, but Durk wasn't arrested. Still, it was a chilling reminder of how easily violence could find him, no matter where he was. For the next few years, Durk did his best to stay out of trouble, but even with his efforts to keep a low profile, legal challenges kept popping up around every corner. By 2019, he was facing his biggest charge yet, attempted murder. This time, he wasn't alone. His close friend and fellow rapper King Von was right there with him. On February 5, 2019, they were allegedly involved in a violent incident that would become yet another intense chapter in Durk's already wild journey. It just seemed like the drama never really let up.
How come?
Because I have nothing to add. Like, I have nothing to run from.
Did you do it? Did you shoot this man? Did you commit the other crimes of which you're accused?
No.
According to the prosecution on that day, King Von and Durk were allegedly after a guy named Alexander Witherspoon. They shot him in the legs and then took off with $30,000 in cash and his Jeep Cherokee right there in the parking lot. With CCTV footage, witness statements, and a ton of other evidence piling up, it seemed like the odds were stacked against them. Von got arrested soon after, and Durk ended up turning himself in, which meant they were both facing attempted murder charges in court. Just as the case was heating up, tragedy struck again, flipping everything on its head. On November 6, 2020, King Von was out in Atlanta just having a good time at a club when a small argument took a deadly turn. What started as a minor disagreement quickly escalated into chaos outside, and gunfire broke out. Von was shot and offed almost instantly in the crossfire. It was a heartbreaking moment that changed everything for Durk and left a huge impact on the whole scene. In that quick, chaotic moment, 2 other people lost their lives, and 3 more were injured, including a police officer. It was a devastating blow for Durk. Von wasn't just a friend, he was like a brother. Durk had to cope with that loss while still dealing with his own intense legal battle. By 2022, he finally got cleared of those charges, but the heaviness of Von's death stuck with him. Rumors began to swirl that Durk wasn't going to let his friend's murder go unanswered, hinting that there might be more drama ahead.
Anybody that harm my people, I can't I'm not into it with you. Like, if I see you, I ain't saying like, I'm finna
People started buzzing, claiming that Durk had put out a hit on Quando Rondo in 2022. The word was that Rondo's crew was behind Von's murder, and Durk was allegedly out for revenge. While the hit didn't reach Rondo, it tragically resulted in the death of his cousin Lil Pub. Durk was briefly taken in by the police, but he was let go not long after. Now, as the investigation wraps up and evidence seems to point back to him, Durk could be facing a tough reality once again. This time, he might not be able to dodge the consequences. It's a wild situation, and it's clear things are getting serious.